All right, let's talk about something that every man eventually experiences. What really happens when you stop contacting a woman? You think she'll just move on, right? That she'll forget you and find someone else? Not exactly. See, that silence you give her, it's not just no contact. It's a message. It tells her you're no longer chasing, no longer trying to prove yourself. And that shift in energy is what hits her the hardest. This topic isn't just about ignoring someone. It's about understanding the ripple effect your absence creates in her mind. Women are emotional thinkers. They feel deeply, and when the attention they're used to suddenly disappears, it forces them to start reflecting. And trust me, the thoughts that run through her mind aren't as calm as she pretends them to be. So throughout this video, I'm going to break down what happens psychologically when you go silent. You'll see the patterns, the emotions, and the reactions that unfold. Because once you understand how women truly respond to your silence, you'll never look at distance and control the same way again. She pretends not to care, but she feels it, immediately, when you stop contacting her. The first thing she'll do is act like it doesn't bother her. She might post something online that makes her look unbothered, hang out with friends more, or even talk about how she's doing great. But don't be fooled by that surface behavior. It's your defense mechanism. Deep down, she feels the silence immediately. Women are highly sensitive to shifts in energy, especially when it comes from a man they've been emotionally connected to. That sudden change from attention to distance creates an emotional void, and that void doesn't go unnoticed. Even if she told herself she didn't care, your absence reminds her that she did. It's not about missing the texts or calls. It's about missing the feeling she had when she knew you were there. That consistent validation, their assurance that someone was thinking about her suddenly disappears, and that's what starts to eat at her. But instead of admitting it, she'll cover it up with pride. She'll tell herself, I'm not going to reach out first or he'll realize what he lost. This is where ego starts to fight emotion. The more she tries to convince herself she's fine, the more she feels the pull of what she's trying to ignore. Think about how this plays out in real life. Remember the movie 500 Days of Summer? When Tom finally starts to move on, Summer acts calm, even indifferent. But later, when she realizes his attention is no longer centered on her, she starts to feel that internal shift, like something valuable slipped away, without warning. That's exactly how it happens in real life too. The moment you detach, you unknowingly flip a switch in her mind. Your silence becomes louder than any words you could have said. It starts to challenge her perception of control. She begins to notice things she ignored before. The moments you cared, the small things you did, the comfort your presence brought. What once felt guaranteed now feels uncertain, and uncertainty makes her feel uneasy. This is why your distance is more powerful than any argument or explanation. Silence exposes what words often hide. It forces her to confront their real feelings. While she's pretending not to care, she's actually wrestling with a mix of confusion, pride, and curiosity. So, while you might be thinking she's already moved on, understand this. She feels your absence before you ever feel hers. She just won't show it right away. Her pride won't allow it. But make no mistake, that quiet act of pretending not to care, that's the first sign that your silence is already working. Because the more she hides it, the deeper she feels it. Her ego kicks in. She tries to regain control. Now that your silence has started to sink in, the next stage begins. Her ego steps forward. This is where her emotions and pride start wrestling with each other. She feels the distance, but instead of admitting that it's bothering her, she tells herself a story that helps her feel in control again. Something like, he's just playing games. Or he'll come back when he realizes what he's missing. That story is her shield. It's how she protects her confidence while trying to process the loss of your attention. You'll notice this shift if you've ever been in this situation. It's almost like she becomes more defensive in her tone or her actions. She might start acting overly confident or suddenly post things that seem directed at you. What she's really doing is trying to prove to herself, and to you, that she's still winning. Her ego can't handle the idea that the man who once gave her attention has now taken it away completely. It makes her feel powerless, and that's something she can't stand. See, women aren't used to losing emotional influence over a man. Most of the time, they're the ones being chased, admired, or reassured. But when you take that attention away, it flips the power dynamic. Suddenly, she's the one thinking about you more than you're thinking about her. And that realization doesn't sit well with her ego. She'll try to regain that balance by acting unbothered, or by doing small things that get your attention again. Now here's the part most men miss. This isn't always about love or emotional connection yet. It's about her ego wanting to restore its sense of control. She doesn't necessarily want you back right away. She just doesn't want to feel like she lost something. That feeling of losing is what keeps her thinking about you. She starts to question what changed. Why doesn't Heck hurry anymore? Why isn't he reaching out? Those thoughts begin to loop in her mind, because she's used to being the one who gets the final say. You have to stay strong during this phase because this is where a lot of men break. They see her acting cold, distant, or confident, and they panic. They think she's moved on, but in reality, that's her ego doing damage control. If you reach out here, you reset everything. You give her ego exactly what it's looking for, confirmation that she still has power over you. So instead of reacting, understand what's really happening. Here Go is trying to make sense of losing something it thought was guaranteed. She's not truly calm. She's conflicted, and the longer you remain steady, the more she starts to realize she's not the one in control anymore. That's when things start shifting internally for her. Because once her ego runs out of defenses, her emotions have no choice but to take over. She starts watching you from a distance. After her ego takes a few hits, she enters a new phase, observation. This is when she starts watching you quietly, trying to figure out what's going on in your world now that you've gone silent. It's not always obvious, but trust me, it's happening. She may not text or call, but she's paying attention. She might check your social media, ask mutual friends about you, or simply notice when you're active online. She's no longer trying to prove she's fine. She's trying to understand what changed. What drives this stage is curiosity mixed with a little bit of insecurity. She starts wondering what's keeping you so calm. Is he talking to someone else? Did he lose interest? Is he happier without me? These questions loop in her mind, and every unanswered question makes her think about you even more. Your distance creates space for her imagination to take over, and that's where her emotions start building up, again. The funny part is she might even try to convince herself that she's just curious, but it's deeper than that. What she's really doing is trying to measure her importance in your life now that you've pulled back. She's looking for clues, for signs that she still has a place somewhere in your thoughts. Because if you seem unaffected, it challenges everything she believed about how much control she had over your emotions. I once talked to a friend who went through something like this, had told me how his ex used to act distant after they stopped talking. She never reached out directly, but he'd notice little things. She'd like an old post, watch every story, and somehow always appear in places he knew he'd be. He didn't chase her, but he could feel her presence. And that's exactly what happens at this stage. She's not ready to approach, but she can't look away either. Women do this because observation feels safer than vulnerability. By watching from a distance, she gets to satisfy her curiosity without risking rejection. But there's what makes this powerful for you as a man. This stage shows that your silence has weight. It's not indifference anymore. It's influence. The more you stay composed, the more she starts to compare the before and after. She notices that you're not reaching out, not begging, not chasing, and that calm energy starts to stand out. So when she's watching you from afar, don't break the pattern by reacting. This isn't the time to make a move or to prove a point. Let her watch. Let her see your growth, your peace, your progress. Because in her mind, she's studying a version of you that doesn't revolve around her anymore. And that realization, that's what starts pulling her back emotionally. It's not your words or your attention. It's your composure that makes her see your value differently. The overthinking phase. She questions everything. This is where it starts to get real. Once she's done observing you from a distance and still can't figure you out, she slips into the most emotional stage of them all, overthinking. This is the point where your silence begins to echo in her mind, and the same confidence she once had starts to crack. She'll replay old conversations, rethink her actions, and wonder if she pushed you too far. What's crazy is she won't even realize how deep she's gone into her own thoughts until it starts affecting her mood. I remember talking to a guy about this once. He told me about a woman he dated who used to always act like she had the upper hand. She'd take hours to reply, cancel plans at the last minute, and never really show much effort. Eventually, he decided to stop reaching out altogether. No arguments, no long explanations. He just went silent. A few weeks later, he told me she texted him out of nowhere. But instead of her usual confident tone, she said, "Hey, I've been thinking a lot lately. I feel like I messed things up." That right there is the overthinking phase in action. When a woman starts questioning herself like that, it's because she's finally feeling what you felt before. The uncertainty, the doubt, the wondering. The difference is she's not built to handle that kind of emotional silence as well as you can. See, most women process emotions by talking, expressing, or venting. But when there's no communication, she's forced to deal with those emotions on her own. And that's when her mind starts creating scenarios. Some true, some completely made up. But either way, they'll lead back to one thought. You. She might ask herself if you've moved on, if she said something wrong, or if you just stopped caring altogether. That mental back and forth creates emotional tension, and that tension keeps her hooked. The funny thing is, the more she tries to distract herself, the worse it gets. Every little thing starts to remind her of you. The music she listens to, the places she goes, even random moments in her day. That's when she starts realizing how much space you actually took up in her mind. And that's what I told my friend when he shared that story. I said, bro, she's not just reaching out because she misses you. She's reaching out because your silence forced her to face herself. That's the part most men don't see. You're not punishing her by not reaching out. You're allowing her to process the weight of her own behavior. The key here is patience. Don't rush to respond the moment she starts reaching out again. Let her sit with those thoughts a little longer. Because when a woman starts questioning everything, it's not the time to comfort her. It's the time to let her realize that actions have emotional consequences. And when she sees that clearly, that's when real change begins. She looks for ways to get your attention. Again, at this point, her emotions have reached their peak. The silence has been dragging on, and it's no longer something she can ignore. Now, she starts doing little things to get your attention again, but she won't always be direct about it. This is the phase where her pride and her feelings start clashing. She wants your attention, but she doesn't want to admit that she wants it. So instead, she'll find subtle ways to pull you back in. You'll start noticing things that seem random. She might like an old post, respond to something you put up, or find a reason to bring your name up through mutual friends. Sometimes it's not even about reaching out. It's about testing if she still has an effect on you. She might dress differently when she knows she'll see you, act overly cheerful when you're around, or bring up topics she knows to get your attention. Deep down, she's trying to see if you're still watching, still thinking, still affected. What's really happening here is a shift in her emotional balance. The same woman who once controlled the pace is now reacting to your calmness. Your silence has forced her to feel something she can't quite name. Maybe regret, maybe curiosity, but it's strong enough to make her take action. Every move she makes is a small attempt to bridge the gap without fully admitting she misses you. This is also where a lot of men lose their composure. They see those small signs and get excited, thinking it means she's ready to reconcile. But this phase isn't about reconciliation yet. It's about attention. She's trying to see if the door is still open, not necessarily if she wants to walk through it. So, if you react too quickly, she feels reassured and goes right back to her comfort zone. That's why patience matters here more than ever. When a woman starts looking for ways to get your attention, it means you've shifted her emotional power. She's now the one investing effort, even if it's disguised as casual interaction. That's a huge shift from how things began. The best thing you can do during this stage is stay grounded. Respond if it feels natural, but don't overextend yourself. Keep your tone calm, your energy consistent, and your focus on your life. Eventually, she'll realize something powerful. Her usual tactics no longer work. The things that used to get your attention don't affect you the same way anymore. That realization hits harder than any argument could, and that's when she starts viewing you differently. Not as someone she can easily influence, but as someone who's grown beyond needing her validation. When you stay composed through this stage, you're not just showing emotional strength, you're showing leadership. And that's what makes her respect you again. Because now the dynamic has flipped. She's the one trying to earn your attention. She comes back. But this time, it's different by now. You've probably noticed a pattern. Every stage she's gone through, from pretending not to care to watching you from a distance, to finally trying to get your attention again, has been leading to this moment. This is when she decides to come back. But it's important to understand something. When she does, it's not always about love right away. Sometimes it's about curiosity. Sometimes it's about testing if the man she once knew is still the same. And sometimes it's about realizing she underestimated your strength. When a woman comes back after you've gone silent, it's because something about your energy has shifted. You're no longer the man who chased her, who needed her validation, or who panicked when she pulled away. You've changed the way you respond to loss, and that's powerful. But this is also where many men make a big mistake. The moment she appears, they drop all their progress. They start chasing again, trying to pick up where things left off. And just like that, they hand the power right back. You have to remember why she came back in the first place. She was drawn to your calm, your control, and your ability to detach without bitterness. That's what made her curious again. So don't throw that away by acting like the old version of yourself. If you want her respect, you have to maintain the same energy that made her return. Now here's where the reflection part comes in. Ask yourself, why did she have so much power over you in the first place? Was it because you were afraid to lose her? Because you made her your emotional priority while forgetting yourself? Most men don't like facing those questions, but that's where growth happens. You can't become stronger if you don't understand where you went weak. This entire process isn't just about understanding women. It's about understanding you. You have to wake up and realize that every time you make a woman your center, you lose your own balance. The moment your mood depends on her attention, she'll sense it and the attraction fades. Women are drawn to men who lead their lives with purpose, no motion. So when she comes back, don't see it as a win. See it as confirmation that your self-control worked, but also as a test to see if you've truly learned. Here's the truth. Silence isn't a trick. It's a mirror. It reflects who you are without the distractions of validation or attachment. If you've used this time to grow, to focus on your goals, your discipline, your peace, then you're no longer the same man she left. And when she sees that, her respect deepens. So, when she finally reaches out again, take a breath before you respond. Remember the lessons you learned in her absence. Be calm, be centered, and above all, stay true to yourself. Because when you handle that moment with maturity and strength, you're not just winning her back, you're winning yourself back, too. Conclusion. All right, fellas. Let's bring this home. What you've learned today isn't just about women. It's about emotional strength, self-control, and learning how to value yourself. When you stop contacting a woman, it's not about punishing her or proving a point. It's about standing firm in who you are and refusing to let your emotions control you. Because the truth is, most men don't lose women. They lose themselves trying to keep them. That's the uncomfortable truth. But it's also the own that frees you once you really understand it. When you start focusing on your peace, your goals, and your purpose, something shifts. Women feel it. People respect it. And you start to lead from a place of power instead of desperation. Now, I want you to take a moment and think about everything we've talked about. Have you ever been through this before? Have you seen a woman react like this when you pulled away? Drop your experiences in the comments. I actually read them and I'll be there engaging with you. This isn't just a one-way talk. It's a conversation. Because at the end of the day, this is about growth. Becoming stronger, wiser, and more in control of your life.